Rise and shine, trog spawn. You think you can nip off for 4 months and not pay what you owe the tribe?
A blood...
If I don't... Yeah!
If you...
Enough to threat...
But...
You heard, Mother. Away with you, or
if I... That give... Once you... It does... You must... Have you for... Here's what you need to know. This is your task. That does... Never... If you... Once you... Remember, you only have a few days.
May your ancestors watch over you.
Hello everyone, and welcome to a quick guide video to get as much silver as possible in day 1 and have your blood debts sorted. So I'm not going to be able to record audio for the entire video because I've tried a couple of times and I keep getting errors, so I'm going to try and go over the most important parts as early on. So you start off with 27 silver. You'll want to pick up every item in your home because there's a bunch of essential and necessary survival items lying in your house. If you don't pick up everything, you're gonna get in trouble. Here's a mining pick. You'll find that in the storehouse stairs out. So having your essentials from your lighthouse and the mining pick is all you really need. Now I'll do one more thing. I'll go to the store and pick up a fishing harpoon, and I'll be both mining and fishing. I'll be mining almost the entirety of Conflux Mountain. I'll be fishing on 2 beaches. Now the path we're taking through the Conflux Mountain, we'll be mining a couple of Conflux paths, avoiding combat at all costs. We'll also be fishing and picking up all the seaweed as we go along. Now what you'll want to do as well is you'll want to pick as much garberries as you can, and eat the garberries as well as drinking clean water will help in stamina recovery because it's a long run. It is well worth it. You can also, once you've done this and paid off your blood debt, you don't have to worry about the days passing, and at that point you can respawn all the nodes by either resting in your bed for 3 days. 3 days respawns everything. I'm not sure if resting shorter will be okay for respawning mines. I gotta apologize, I haven't tested how long it takes for mines to respawn. It might be just a day, but 3 days definitely respawns them. Now my preferred method of respawning the mines is to travel to another zone. So if you open up the map, and I'm not going to be doing it in the video here because I forgot to, but if you open up the map and look, there's some arrows pointing you to zones that you can move to. You're not restricted in any way early on to go there, but it is a bit tricky because you need travel rations. Now, since you're making a lot of cash here, you can just buy travel rations from the general merchant. It'll cost 3 rations to get to the next zone, and it'll cost 3 rations to get back. Now, if you have a cooking pot, and I think you can even use survival cooking to make rations, but a cooking pot is more effective. So using the cooking pot, two acceptable ingredients and a pinch of salt, you can make survival rations. Here's our first dungeon. So you'll see this in all of the dungeons. I'll show off the path to go, and what you're wanting to do is make sure you can stay out of combat. Use luring enemies out and trying to get them stuck behind objects and trying to get them to lose your position is all useful strategies here. Now, I guess one last thing I'll mention is the chest here has for me spawned every time a very expensive weapon. I don't know if it is guaranteed to spawn. The loot you get from chests and other things seems to be very random, but this chest has had the spear every single time I've checked. Maybe it'll be there for you, maybe it won't, but if you see it, pick it up. It's worth 75 coin. Now, is there anything else? Oh yeah, during nighttime you'll find blue sand on the beaches. Seaweed is used in a recipe to restore burnt mana. The ochre spice beetles you find from looting any herbs out in the wilderness, they are used in a recipe to restore burnt stamina. Now the recipe is rather easy. All you need is clean water and an ochre spice beetle. If you combine that in your kitchen, you can make the tea that recovers your stamina. Use that combined with this farming route, and if you have a lot of tea on you, every time you run about a quarter of your stamina, every time you burn off about a quarter of your stamina, I'd say use the tea and restore it. You'll find a lot of spice beetles on this run anyway. So we're going up the mountain here, and the only thing to make note of is there's a very tough enemy at the top. You can avoid combat with him by luring him out far enough and then making a mad dash to get the ore. He can also die by fall damage. I was lucky enough to have that happen on my other character. So I guess a couple of last things to say about the run here. We're going to make our way up through the outside of the mountain, all the way to the top, mining the mines on our way, and then the doorway we're going to run past here momentarily is the last conflux path we're going to be heading into. So heading up the mountain here, all the way to the top. I'm going to stop the recording now so it doesn't glitch out. I'll be back in a minute. Okay, here we are again. So this is the final conflux path we're going to be going through, and we're going to run all the way to the end of the path. So at the very start here, you'll keep to your left. Every turn you find, go left. The blood mushrooms are very useful for certain items later on in the game. Ignore combat here. Try and get the mana stone. Yeah, most enemies are not too dangerous, and you shouldn't worry too much about them. Okay, just backtracking here. So we're looking for the blue skulls on the floor. They're kind of leading the path of which way you're supposed to go. Here you want to see one to your right. Now here we turn into the right path here. You can tell it's the way to go because it has the purple crystals around the entrance, kind of indicating that this is where the mana stone is. But then we go further on this way, all the way to the end here, turn right, and then you'll see another purple crystals. I go right here, but it's not the right way to go. I just get distracted. I think there's some mining spots here. Well, there aren't. My bad. Continuing on here, there's some enemies. I run past them, but what you want to do is go to your right, because in that little alcove where the enemies are, there's another mana crystal. Unfortunately, this mana crystal is right next to this whole group of enemies. You should be able to reach it and mine it without them messing you up too badly. See, even if you get hit, you can survive 1 or 2 hits. So we reach the exit here. This leads to the conflux chambers, and this is where you'll get access to mana in the game. I pick up a couple of items here. Star mushroom and green mushroom. You find all kinds of useful resources when you're straight up legit playing through this path, playing through this part of the game. Now there's a adventurer corpse here which has some items on it, and just about all the items in chests and the items on corpses and just about every other collectible in these conflux paths seems to respawn. So if you come back every couple of days, you'll be able to pick up all of the items again. Or you can just rest in your lighthouse in Chersonese for a few days. Or you can exit the zone with free travel rations and re-enter the zone using again free travel rations, and everything should be respawned if you don't want to waste time. We're overburdened here, but being overburdened at this part of the run isn't a big deal because we've got a vendor at the end of this path, and that's kind of a big deal. That's part of what makes this farming grind very effective. So here's the conflux mana crystal. Here's where you'll get access to mana if you want access to mana. So we're on a freshly crafted character. We're right in the new game. So as you can see, you can kind of just run your way here and gain access to mana as soon as you feel like it. Still crawling along overburdened. As you can see, it's day 2 conflux path here. Yeah, crawling along at a snail's pace, making it to the vendor. There's a couple of people you'll need to talk to if you want to unlock mana, but we're only going to be talking to the one NPC here who sells you items and thus also buys items from you. I highly suggest buying a new backpack as soon as you can from the general
Feel
store
free to use one of our
vendor in
boats to return to the surface.
Your original pack only carries 25 spots, while the next pack for sale, I think it only costs 25 silver, and it's already a double item carry boost. It goes from 25 to 50. So we're selling all these items, and for a pretty penny. So there are 10 nodes in total you'll be finding across this path that I'm showing off in this video, and we weren't that lucky. Sometimes you find much more of the more, I forgot the name, manatites or something, manasite ore, not exactly sure, but next to the mana crystals you find that rare ore, and that's where the most of the money is coming from. It's 50 silver per sale. And if you're lucky, half of the crystals you mine will be that. If you're not confident in traveling to the inner recesses of the mountain, you could also just stay on the outside and mine a few nodes. If you get lucky with one mine, you're already well on your way to paying off the blood debt. But you shouldn't be paying off the blood debt. You should always be using the tribal favor because it's very easy to get. We'll be getting that later on. And I'll pause the recording for now. See you in a bit. Alright, here we are again. So, coming close to the beach just below Cherso here, you can find blue sand showing up on the beach visibly at night. We're gonna come up against one here in just a second. There you see it, a very faint glow. I think the darker it gets, the easier the blue sand is to see. I don't know if it's got fixed spawn points. Here's some ammonite ore. I'm not sure if that one respawns at all, but it shows up there. And there's an ammonite ore gather point up here in a little bit. They seem to show up next to the strange shells. There's another blue sand apparently. You also find blue sand by fishing, though it seems to be more difficult to get by fishing than to just pick it up off the sand, off the beaches. So I think if you're farming for blue sand, you want to be going out on the beaches at night to have a look for it. Picking up as much seaweed as you can. Seaweed is part of the restorative tea to restore burnt mana. Here's another ammonite. Restoring burnt mana is kind of a big deal, and you'll want to pick up as much seaweed as you can and have as much mana teas available as you can, because there's a whole situation about losing mana and having to recover mana. It's a very complex system. So I go further and then I decide to turn back and actually do the blood price thing here. So when you rescue Mitchell Aberdeen, we get a tribal favor, and that will be accepted to pay off our 150 silver blood price. It's the much more effective way of paying off your blood price than to actually farm up the 150 silver. Not only are you saving money, you're also saving yourself some grief and a lot of time, because this guy seems to be here on the beach every single new game cycle. You don't have to look for them, you know exactly where they are. So we're heading up the slope here and going to the left. Now you'll head north and you'll eventually find the gates of Cherso. It's not a difficult path to follow, there's not many obstacles. You can easily do this in the dark. Of course, having explored the area before helps a lot. So what you kind of get out of this is a bunch of useful crafting items for teas. You get some fish, you get some blue sand, ammolites, you'll get potentially some really decent gear. There's a couple of treasure chests that I run past and don't even loot. You might potentially get a very strong weapon going through here. You'll have a decent amount of cash. You'll have the blood price paid off your head using the tribal favor. So visiting, we'll be visiting Rissa in a second here. We're just going through the motions and sleeping for the night. Okay, I've cut out all of the loading screens except this one, possibly. Yeah, it looks like I've forgotten to take this one out. Whoops, my bad. But this game does have long loading times, so there's that to take into account. I don't know if this is a useful silver farming run for the late game or mid game, but especially early on, having that decent amount of cash is really useful. I've seen other farming guides which revolve around purchasing stock at vendors, crafting something valuable and then reselling it, but it revolves around restocking the vendors by using by resting for 3 days to restock their to have them refill their stock. I think resting for 3 days. Here I spend my cash on some useful items. I buy another water skin, a cooking pot, and a better backpack, and some travel rations. So all of these items are quite useful if you want to farm out this route even more. You can use the travel rations to travel to the next zone over, come back, and the pouch, having extra space, will be very helpful. You can bring back more from the conflux mountain. What else did I pick up? Oh yeah, the cooking pot. So on the fly, on the run, we can get free scratches of wood off of a tree, make a campfire, put on the cooking pot, and boil some beetles into clean water to make the stamina recovery drink. Very useful. If you have gathers on you and clean water and a bunch of stamina recovery tea, you can really sprint through most of the world without having to worry too much about your stamina. So again, respawning the ore in the mountains, you'll have to either wait for a certain amount of days or travel to the next zone over and come back. My favorite zone to go to would be the forest. It's very quick to get to. Once you leave the conflux path and they spawn you on the beach, that's actually a good point to head east. You head east under the bridge that is connected to the conflux mountain. Avoid the dangerous mantis mob and just follow the path. It's not that difficult to reach, and you can camp out if you have to recover stamina, recover health, or recover daylight. It's a pretty fun run, and you don't have to waste too much in time in world days by zone transitioning to recover the ore. Anyway, I hope this guide was helpful in any way, and I'll see you guys in my Let's Play series. Take care.